We all want to stay on top of what's happening, but who has time for all the noise? You're here because you want the key stuff right.
Straight to the point. No fluff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a deep dive into something pretty big. President Trump and cryptocurrency. Specifically how he's integrating it into the U.S. financial system.
Right.
We've got some sources here detailing his recent actions.
Should be interesting.
Yeah. Let's try to break it all down for everyone.
Sounds good.
So maybe the biggest thing that jumps out is that Trump, well, he used to be really skeptical of crypto, right? And now he's like the biggest cheerleader.
Yeah. It's a big shift, a real pivot.
For sure. And it's not just talk either.
Yeah.
Like just this month, on March 7th, there was this whole White House crypto summit, the first ever. Can you imagine?
Wow.
I know. The White House hosting like Brian Armstrong from Coinbase, Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy, even the Winklevoss twins. All to talk about how to make the U.S. like the crypto capital of the world.
And then right before that, on March 6th, Trump signs this executive order.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was the one that created the strategic Bitcoin reserve, basically a digital asset stockpile for the U.S., starting with Bitcoin.
A lot of Bitcoin.
Like a lot. About 200,000 Bitcoins. If you look at the current price, that's something like $17.5 billion.
I think a lot of people listening are probably wondering where they got all those Bitcoins.
Oh, absolutely.
True.
Like, did they go on a shopping spree?
Well, that's the interesting part. It's not like they went out and bought them on the market. They used Bitcoins seized by the government, like through criminal and civil forfeiture cases and stuff.
So no taxpayer money was spent.
Right. At least that's what the White House is saying.
Politically, it's a pretty smart move. Makes it harder for people to argue against it. And Trump is really pushing this idea of Bitcoin as a strategic asset. I even saw a quote where he called it like a digital Fort Knox, putting it up there with things like gold and oil reserves.
And that ties into the summit's goal of making the U.S. the crypto leader.
Exactly. So with all that said, how's the industry reacting to all this?
Well, it's been a bit of a mixed bag.
Mixed how?
Well, a lot of the people at the summit, they were pretty optimistic. They saw the whole thing as a step in the right direction, like finally some collaboration after all that back and forth over regulations.
Right. But not everyone was happy, I imagine.
Yeah, there were definitely some who weren't thrilled. Like the CEO of Exodus, J.P. Richardson, he was pretty vocal about wanting the reserve to be Bitcoin only.
Interesting. What was his reasoning there?
He was really focused on Bitcoin's stability and track record. Apparently, the administration initially was thinking about including all sorts of other cryptos like XRP, Solana, Cardano even.
Really? Wow. So like a truly diversified crypto portfolio for the U.S. government.
Yeah.
That would have been something.
Yeah. But Richardson's argument, and it's one a lot of people share, is that Bitcoin is the most proven and secure.
Okay, I can see that. So you've got this big Bitcoin news, this summit. It seems like everything's pointing up for crypto, but then right after the announcement, Bitcoin's price actually went down a bit.
Yeah, a little dip, like 3.4%, down to $86,394.
I wonder what caused that.
I think some people were hoping for a bigger price jump. You know, basic supply and demand. If the government starts buying tons of Bitcoin, the price should go up, right?
Makes sense.
But remember, they didn't actually buy these Bitcoins. They were seized. Plus, there were some concerns about tariffs that were affecting the market in general, so it's hard to say for sure what caused the dip.
Yeah. It's never just one thing, is it?
Yeah.
And then you have to factor in that Trump himself has a stake in that crypto platform, World Liberty Financial. Which, naturally raises some questions about conflicts of interest, even though his aides insist that he's not involved in the day-to-day.
Right.
So what happens now? What are we looking for next?
Well, the executive order basically puts the Treasury and Commerce departments in charge of figuring out how to expand this reserve without using any taxpayer money. So budget-neutral strategies. We should get more details on their plans in the next few months.
Okay, so just to recap for everyone. President Trump, huge move towards crypto. First ever White House crypto summit. Executive order to create a Bitcoin reserve.
Using seized assets, no new taxpayer money.
Right. Industry reactions are mixed, optimism, but also concerns. And now we wait to see what the government comes up with to grow the reserve.
And maybe the most important thing for all of us listening to think about is the bigger picture. We've got a major government embracing a decentralized digital asset, like on a huge scale. What does that mean long-term for the U.S. financial system, for America's place in the global digital economy? Those are the questions we all need to start grappling with.
No easy answers, that's for sure.
Definitely not. But that's why we do these deep dives.
To get you thinking.
Exactly.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you next time.